Hello! Today we're going to answer some questions. So, funny story, I had all my videos set to hold comments for moderation because I was used to the early days of YouTube when the comments were all terrible. And I assumed that YouTube was going to notify me when someone left a comment, because that's how it happened the first time I put videos up. And then I wasn't getting any comments, so I was like, okay, well, I'm doing videos about a very niche topic, c'est la vie. And then I did a video where I left comments on, just by accident. And the comments were all polite, properly spelled. And so I was like, okay, well, maybe I can leave comments on. Maybe YouTube, like, the quality of commenter has improved. And so I went into YouTube Studio to change the other videos, and I realized that people had been leaving comments. They had been held for moderation, and I just hadn't gotten any notification of it. There were hundreds of them, going back years. So sorry for the delay. I've approved most of them, and I'll be leaving comments open until it becomes a problem. But yes, amongst all those comments were questions, good questions. So today I'm going to answer some of those questions, or at least try to answer them. Really, the only comments that I've not let through are ones where people were actually complaining about modern safety. I make jokes about the good old days, but I actually do like that things are much safer now. I've been able to be a theater person for 20 years and never had to write a letter that goes, "Dear Mrs. So-and-so, we regret to inform you." I've had to write 2 obituaries, but those were both for old age, and one of them was a cat. So the first question, can I use these in my classroom? Yes. That was easy. But yeah, seriously, the reason I make these is for instructors to use, also because it amuses me. But yes, use these in your classrooms. If you need to download them to use them in a classroom where you can't get internet, I don't care, go for it. I would prefer you not charge money for them, especially not without giving me a cut. But yes, use these in your classrooms. Also, feel free to suggest new subjects. The video on light sources and why you can't dim a fluorescent tube, that came from an adjunct professor going, could you explain that? Because I have students asking it, and I don't want to cover it in class, but I want to be able to point them at a resource. So yes, use these in your classrooms. Make suggestions. I try to keep the language safe for basically all ages. I can't say they won't learn new vocabulary, but it'll be useful things like quantum. I think the most risque language I have used is when I was talking about the saltwater dimmers being called piss pots and referring to shocking one's gentleman parts. So yeah, if they can handle that, they can handle the language in any of them. The second question is from the video on inductance, and they asked if it might be you need to wrap the cable around a metal core to cause that inductance to have an effect. And I would like to make clear that I'm not saying that cables tightly wound on spools haven't melted when they were plugged in, because people I trust have seen it happen. I've seen pictures of it. My experiment was just to see if inductance, like how you wound the cable, changed how much resistance there was that would be causing it to heat up more than if it was just laying on the floor. And so I took my 100-foot cable, I plugged in my cyc light, I laid it across the shop, and I was drawing 3.6 amps at 116 volts. So then I took my 100-foot cable and I wound it around one of the 55-gallon drum trash cans we have in the shop, because that is absolutely a thing sensible people do, and repeated my measurements. And it was drawing 3.9 amps. I'm like, yes, I finally got a result. Okay, so if wrapping it around the trash can made the draw go up, I should be able to unwrap it and have the draw go back down. So I unwrapped the cable from the trash can and just lifted it in a pile on the floor, and then I was drawing 4 amps. So then I stretched it back out across the shop, exactly how it was when I made the first measurement, and I was drawing 4.1 amps. So I think just as the light was heating up, it was starting to draw more current, especially since just as I was looking at my amperage meter, it went up to 4.2 amps. Yeah, so inconclusive. The next 2 questions are about the limelight. The first one is, can you use a seashell? Because a seashell is calcium carbonate, just like limestone. And so I have a seashell, a boring one. My mother collects seashells, so I made sure to pick one that no one was going to care if I incinerate it. And I've got my setup, and we'll give it a shot. That does not smell great, but it seems to be working. Ah! Well, the answer appears to be yes, but only briefly. Actually, there was a third question. Someone asked about if the limestone's texture changed when it was calcinated. So yes, it does. Nope. The second question I got about the limelight was asking if I had taken any sort of measurements of how bright it actually was. I wanted to do that, but I didn't have a light meter at the time. I do now. I have this thing, which is an X-Tech LT40, if you want to criticize my gear choices. And so I'm going to set up the limelight. I've got a tape measure out. I will take the measurement at 1 meter. That's 39 inches if you still measure things using dead king's body parts. And I'll also fire up a source 4 36 degree, just so we have a comparison. All right. God, someday I will be able to do that with it. Ow. Just immediately blowing my torch out. All right, at a distance of 1 meter, we are at 200 lux and climbing. We're at 230, 240. Little chunks are breaking off. Now I can't see my meter because I looked at the light. Yeah, we're up at 330, 320, yeah, 332. All right, we are at, oh, starting to drop. All right, we went up to 350 lux at 1 meter. And keep in mind that this is without any lenses. And part of what made this like the big thing was that you had lenses you could use. Whoop. My torch went out. For comparison, that gas jet at 1 meter is producing 12 lux. So to give you a point of comparison, I have a 36 degree source 4, that should be pretty familiar to all of us, and at 1 meter, it is producing 18,000 lux. so it is slightly brighter. Now, the next question that I got asked was with the saltwater dimmer. What happens if you put too much salt in it? And well, I don't know, so we're going to find out. So I have it set up so that we can just touch the top plate, and we get a little bit of a glow, and then we push it all the way in, it lights all the way up. Bring it out, touch it to the top, get just a little glow, and then if light goes up, light goes down. So I ran out of salt, so I borrowed more from the costumers, and we will start adding some. I mean, at some point I'm going to get to the point where I can't dissolve any more salt in the water. But yeah, let's see what happens. Yeah, so if you add too much salt, you lose the ability to dim it down. Okay, we are definitely at the point where I'm just not able to get more salt to dissolve. Yeah, and as soon as you touch the top of the water, it's lighting up. Yes, so if you add too much salt, you lose the ability to dim down to a nice, just barest glow. So yeah, this is how you set your dimmer curves in the old days. The final question that I'm going to answer today is, why is there a purity seal stuck to your lamp? For those unfamiliar, this is from Warhammer 40,000, which is originally a tabletop war game. It was created in England in the 1980s. It has since expanded to multiple editions of the tabletop game, computer games. There's 70 some odd books written about this setting. I've played it since I was in high school. I actually started with the original Rogue Trader book. This is specifically a seal from the Adeptus Mechanicus, which is the priesthood that maintains the ancient, crumbling, and poorly understood technology of the Imperium of Man. And frankly, maintaining ancient, crumbling, poorly understood technology is about half my job in this building. It's kind of old, and a lot of the stuff is poorly documented. So I made that with a 3D printer and some paint, and it amused me to stick it to something in the first video, and then I decided to stick it to something in every video. So yeah, that's all for now. Thank you for watching, and if you have any other questions, feel free to ask. Hello. Today we will begin covering the maintenance and operation rituals of the Foster pattern ellipsoidal reflector spotlight. The Foster pattern luminaire, designed in M2 on Holy Terra itself, has been a stalwart companion of humanity for over 30 millennia. Be sure you have all the appropriate tools in your tool skull and that you have said the proper incantations, and we will begin.